Your chatbot is hallucinating and how would you fix it? So this is again one of the very common interview questions because you will hear this word hallucinating a lot of times. Okay. So to let's understand what is hallucination in simple things, right? So you ask a question and the model will give you an answer in a very confident way, but it is a wrong answer. Right. So that is what hallucination is. It thinks it is the right answer, but it ends up giving wrong answer. Now why hallucination happens? Okay, so fundamentally how these models work is like they basically predict the next token. Okay, so token you can consider as a word. Okay, so for simplicity let's consider word. So if you basically ask a question like, okay, what is the capital of India? Okay, let's say what is the capital of India. Now the capital of India is Delhi. Now this is basically these are basically some of the things that you can consider as choice. So what it will do is it will basically predict one of this based on how likely they are to be true. Like Delhi may be like 89%, New York maybe 1%, London maybe 2%, and it could actually have. Now, out of this, it will say like, oh, Delhi is like 89%, it is the most likely, and then basically it will say like the capital city of India is Delhi. Now, why? Because see, the model is trained on lot of text, right? So large of amount of data. Okay, so let's say let's say it got trained on some documents like 100 documents. Okay, for this particular example, right? So now maybe 80 of this document, somebody or 8 of the documents says the capital city of India is Delhi. Okay, now 20, maybe 10 of this document basically said it's New York, another 10 might have said it's London, something else. So it is possible, right? So some wrong answer. So it's like somebody teaching you the wrong way, then you will end up giving the wrong answer eventually. It's not your fault, right? It's how the training was. So basically it will go ahead and basically look at what is the most likely and it will give you the outcome. Sometimes it gives you the wrong outcome because it predicts the wrong way and it basically ends up hallucinating. Okay, so this is important for you to understand before we move on. So now that we understand like what hallucination, how these things works and all, so the thing here is like you cannot completely avoid hallucination. That is very difficult because as I mentioned, it is more of a prediction. Your prediction can be wrong. So you can basically have 99% or me, but it's very difficult to have 100%, right? So now, but how do you reduce it? Okay. So what we'll do is we'll do a small demo. Okay. So we'll do a small demo. So similar to how we have done previous demos. So we'll have an A version, which basically simple code that we are going to run with certain things, and then we'll have a production version and then we'll show you and we'll compare and we'll show you. Okay, so now imagine that we have a company, let's say Acme. Okay, so this company basically, let's say this Acme company. Okay, so this is for like he has some chatbot. Okay, so now what I'll okay for that let me just run this because okay, so while that is running, so let me just go through the code. Okay, so at a very high level I'll just walk you through the code. All right, so okay, so these are basically the documents that we have, like for refund policies, what is the refund policies, cancellation policy, reiteration policies, and everything. And then these are the sample questions. Okay, now you observe here the expected keyword. So this basically, we are basically evaluating the answer that the model is giving because we need to understand whether this is hallucinating or not, right? So these are basically the expected answer. So now here we are retrieving the context and everything, and so this is what we have. Okay, so if you open this up, refresh, so this is a naive chatbot. So once you run this naive chatbot, what happens here is like what it does is it takes the question and it will basically send you to the model. Okay, so it's like this, you are opening chat gpt, you are asking question, it goes and hits the model. Now the problem with that is that chat gpt may not have that answer, that model may not be trained on the answer, so that's where it will come up and give you some hallucinating answer. So good models will basically say that I do not know the answer, but they if your model is not good, then obviously it will basically give you some hallucinating answer rather than saying that, hey, I don't know this. So this is a very simple, there is nothing here, you just take the question, hit the model, right? This is the very, very basic way of doing. Now, on the other hand, what we also have is this grounded chatbot, which basically does two things. One is basically it has a better prompt, and what it gives you instruction is answer the customer question only in the policy document. See the policy document. See, we already have the document. So instead of directly adding the asking a generic chatbot, so what we'll do is whatever questions that we get, we'll say that you go and check the policy documents and answer only from the policy doc. So this is very similar to your RAG. Okay. All right. And then we basically check if the answer is correct or not. Okay. So now these are the run a functions as well as the grounded functions. So when we run this, so what happens here is, so if I run this, right, so what is happening here is like it is taking that question, it is sending it to the model. Now the problem here is like maybe the model is not trained on that. The model does not have this policy information. So what it will do is it will basically might give you some hallucination answers. Okay. Now, on the other hand, the grounded chatbot, what it is doing, it is basically checking the chatbot. Sorry, it is basically checking the policy document. So it is retrieving the policy document. The same time, we are basically checking like whatever the value that is coming is correct or not. We're doing a simple check, right? This is a very simple thing that we have done with just one change. So you will see the difference here. So these are the answers, like you have 30 days. So just ignore this. This is like I printed it. So how many days do I have to request a refund? You have 30 days from the date of purchase to request a refund for a product from Acme Corporation. After 30 days, the refund will not be accepted. Is there a fee if I cancel? The cancellation policy and associated fee may vary depending on specific terms of Acme. I recommend checking the terms and conditions. Okay. So just understand this too, right? And let's check like how we are running the ground, right? Because see, Nay, what happened is it did not look at the policy, so it obviously does not know what is the policy. See, when we asked what is a refund policy, it says 30 day. Why? Because see, generally, right, it's a 30-day policy. Like in any courses that you take online also, generally they do 30 days, right? So it basically assume like, okay, it is a 30 days refund policy. That is how it works. But Acme, this company has a 14-day policy, and this is only available in the private documents of the company. So this grounded chatbot actually pulled from there. So that is why it is able to give you the right answers, right? And also you can see the answers like, very concise and to the point, and does not give you so many other unnecessary details. So this is one way of actually doing. Okay, so now if I do a comparison, basically you can see this is for 4 sample questions, but if I do a 5,000 charts per day, like you can see the wrong answers that we might end up getting, right? So this is just a simple product projection. So the first thing is like you need to have all the right answers. So this is basically avoiding hallucination. All right, so we did one simple thing, right? So what we did is basically we look up to the policy documents. Instead of being generic, we look up the policy. We wrote a really good prompt saying that you only need to look at from this. You can also add to the prompt saying like, if you do not find an answer, just say that I do not know the answer, right? So instead of just giving any random answer, if you're not sure, just say that you do not know the answer. So this is one thing that we have showed in the demo. Okay, so this is fine, but beyond this, right, so there might be a few other things that you can also do, right? Because we don't, it's difficult to have all of this demo within this video. I didn't want to make it a very large video, so that's why I showed you one simple demo on this. But what you can also do is like, here you can see that we basically gave you the data, right? So answer. So what you can also do is you can have the model explicitly point to which document or sentence it pulled the answer, saying that this is the answer, and then here down you can say like, hey, this has been pulled from this particular check. So that way you can basically evaluate. So once you're comfortable doing this exercise, saying that okay, it is basically giving 99% whatever we are comfortable, then you can remove it. But that is one thing during testing, because this question is how about evaluation, right? How do you stop, or how do you fix your hallucination? So these are the test things that you can do. All right. Another thing is like confidence score. See, you can basically ask this model to say like, hey, for this question you gave me this as, and how confident are you? You ask the model to give the confidence score. It will give you the confidence score and you project it. Okay, if you are saying like 85% and above, if it is confidence, I'm going to take it as it is. If it is down, then I will say it is hallucinating. Okay, that is one thing. So you can basically say the okay, let me just jot it down here. Okay, all right. So see, one thing what you can do is, right, so one thing for the first thing that we just saw, right? So what did we see is like you do a lookup on the documents, whatever the on policy documents on or whatever the documents that you have. So similar to your, this is the concept of RAG. So that way you will only retrieve the information from the trusted source. So the other thing is basically have the model explicitly mention like, I took this reference, right? So, or you can say the print the chunks. So this way you can evaluate those chunks. Okay. And other thing that you can do is the confidence score. Print the confidence score. So with this, you can evaluate how confident this your model is, right? So and you can take a call on this. What you can also do is like you got the answer, right? You can say that you can use a second model to verify, to evaluate the answer. So your AI model provides you an answer. Then you add this another AI model that will evaluate this answer and will tell you like, is it hallucinating or not. Right, so that is one more check. You can do it manually as well, but you can also have another model or check to actually check this. Okay, and one more thing is like very important thing which people actually forget is like, you have to continuously make sure your knowledge base is up to date because policies can change, right? So here you're not, if this policy of 14 days is changed to 30 days, then your model should be able to know. So you always need to go back and ensure that your policy documents or whatever lookup that you are giving, you whatever the documents that you are giving providing it to the AI model, that stays up to date. So you need to, this is one thing that people actually miss, like you provide the document, it just stays update, doesn't get updated, and it is retrieving the old data and everything. So this is something you'll have to keep in mind, that the policies can change, your relevant documents can get upgraded, so you need to always provide the upgraded version. All right, so these are the things that you can mention to the interviewer, and say like, hey, these are the things that I'm going to make sure with this we will evaluate and we'll try to reduce the hallucination. And 100% avoidance of hallucination is very very difficult. Maybe in future we might, but at this point I think like, and even in future I feel like, it might be difficult, right? It's a basic concept, right? Even sometimes people give wrong answers knowingly, they'll give a wrong answer, right? So you might ask me question, I might have read it somewhere and I gave you an answer that might be wrong. So I might be hallucinating, right? So we will not know. So it's difficult to kind of avoid it 100%, but these are the things that you can do. Evaluate, do another check, right? And use the context, whatever which is provided, and evaluate the answers and keep your knowledge base up to date. So these are the things that you can do to ensure that you reduce the hallucination. All right. And we've seen a simple demo for one of those, the first point on the lookup. Similarly, you can do for the remaining things, but these are the things that you can basically talk about in the interview, and mostly like you will not hear much of a follow-up question. But yeah, so that's all I have here, and I'll see you guys in my next class.